Although the 7th generation of Pokemon gave us the least amount of new Pokemon out of any generation so far, some very good Pokemon came out of it, like the Tapus and most of the Ultra Beasts. Except for Guzzlord, but we don't talk about Guzzlord. We also got a few other good Pokemon such as Mimikyu and Toxapex in Generation 7, and although Generation 7 is criticized for having a lot of Pokemon that are slow and just not very good, there are still a pretty decent amount of Generation 7 Pokemon that currently sit in the Ubers tier. In this video, we will be talking about Zygarde Complete form and if it is the best Pokemon out there. Now, although Zygarde is a Generation 6 Pokemon, we all know that it got pretty shafted in the Generation 6 games, never receiving a game of its own, forcing Generation 7 to make up for its lack of forms and lack of a story in Generation 6. The way this works is we take a look at some good Pokemon, discuss what makes them so good, what their flaws are, and if they are the best Pokemon overall or the best Pokemon in a specific category. Each Pokemon is rated on a scale 1 to 5 based on their offense, defense, versatility, Movepool, and overall viability. If a Pokemon excels in some of these categories, then it is deemed to be a good Pokemon, not necessarily the best Pokemon, and if a Pokemon excels in pretty much every single category, then it is deemed to be one of the best Pokemon out there. Now, if you guys want to see a specific Pokemon featured in this series in the future, make sure you guys leave a comment down below letting me know which Pokemon you want to see, but please only recommend Pokemon that are really good and considered some of the best Pokemon out there. There is also the worst Pokemon series, which is reserved for bad Pokemon, which again, you can check out the playlist in the description, and of course, you can also check out the full playlist of the best Pokemon series in the description, so you can see which Pokemon have been featured so far. Make sure you guys also subscribe and leave a like if you haven't already, and let's take a closer look at Zygarde Complete. Zygarde Complete is a Dragon and Ground-type Pokemon with the ability Power Construct. Zygarde Complete is a pretty unique Pokemon as well, as it can only appear if you have a Zygarde 10% or Zygarde 50% with the Power Construct ability, and once they are at below 50% HP, they transform into Zygarde Complete form. This behaves somewhat similar to Darmanitan Zen Mode ability, however the interesting thing about Zygarde Complete is that it has a much higher HP stat than its 10% and 50% forms, which essentially heals it a little bit once it transforms. This is pretty interesting as all Mega Evolutions have the same HP stat as their base form, so it's pretty interesting to see a Pokemon that can change form mid-battle that also has a different HP stat than its previous form. In terms of stats, Zygarde Complete has a stat line of 216 HP, 100 attack, 121 defense, 91 special attack, 95 special defense, and 85 speed. All of these stats are higher than its base forms with the exception of its speed, which is 10 points lower than Zygarde 50% speed and 30 points lower than Zygarde 10%. I'm sure a lot of you guys can tell by now what makes Zygarde Complete so good based off what we covered so far, but let's tackle its negatives first. So for the first negative, you must be below 50% HP to transform. This is kind of an issue as once you transform, you're going to have a lot lower HP than you normally would. This is more of a problem with the Zygarde 10% form as it's much frailer and much more prone to being 1-hit KO'd. You're also pretty vulnerable to taunt. You only have 85 speed, which really isn't the fastest, and the problem with this Pokemon is it's pretty reliant on moves like Rest and Coil, so not being able to go for those moves can be a problem. Zygarde Complete is also very vulnerable to Fairy types. Now this is to be understood as it is a Dragon type and it's supposed to be vulnerable to Fairy types, but it is still something to keep in mind. You are also 4 times weak to Ice, but I don't really think that's that much of a negative as every Pokemon has weaknesses, and having 4 times weakness isn't the worst thing in the world, especially when you have the insane bulk that this Pokemon has. Which leads on to the positives. The first positive, of course, you have fantastic bulk. 216 HP, 121 defense, 95 special defense is just insane. You also have some pretty decent mixed offenses. 100 attack is pretty good, and 91 special attack isn't horrible. They're not the highest attack stats, but they're both usable. You also have access to 1000 arrows, which in my opinion is one of the best moves in the game, as there really aren't very many Pokemon out there that want to hit from it. You do also have 1000 waves, which is kind of a forgotten move that kind of fell under the radar. However, I don't think it's really that bad of a move, as it's basically a ground type Anger Shot. It's nowhere near as good as 1000 arrows, but it could be a move that's fun to use in something like a draft league. Zygarde Complete also has some pretty good setup options with moves like Dragon Dance and Coil, and you do have access to moves like Glare, Haze, and Dragon Tail, which can help you set up. And for the last positive, Zygarde Complete in my opinion is one of the best Rest Talk users in the game. I'm personally not a big fan of Rest Talk users, but through using Zygarde Complete, it was really good. So moving on to some Zygarde Complete sets. This is actually a set that I found on Reddit that was posted shortly after Sun and Moon came out. So it's a pretty old set, but it was still really good. Zygarde Complete with the leftovers, power construct ability of course, max HP, max defense, impish nature, rest, 1000 arrows, coil, and sleep talk. This set is so good. You get up one coil and there's not many things that can kill you from that range. 1000 arrows of course is one of the best offensive moves in the game, and since you are a ground type you have stab, which makes it even better, although the only Pokemon in the game that gets 1000 arrows are the Zygarde forms, but still. And then you kind of need rest and sleep talk. Sure, sleep talk can be annoying if you get your rest, but if you get a coil or get 1000 arrows, you can pretty much sweep a team with this. I'll also include the full Zygarde Complete team in the description that I found on Reddit. It was a very fun team and I really enjoyed using it. And now moving on to Smogon set. This set is pretty similar to the one that I used before. It just has a lot of different moves you can run. You have the Zygarde Complete with the leftovers, power construct, impish nature again, max HP, max defense, 1000 arrows, and rest are pretty much the only two mandatory moves on this set. And the last two moves can be really whatever you want. Glare, Toxic, Dragon Tail, Sleep Talk, two of those three, very good. Glare can be good because you can just paralyze your opponents, even ground types. And then Dragon Tail is great for phasing. It's really up to your preference. There's a lot of good things that Zygarde Complete can do. You could even run a special variant if you want. However, the issue with this is you lose access to 1000 arrows if you're running full special, and coil isn't nearly as effective if you are full special as well. A mix set really isn't the best option in my opinion, although it could work, but you will suffer from 4-move syndrome, as in my opinion, you definitely need a rest on this Pokemon. Moving on to the ratings, in terms of offense, I will give Zygarde Complete a 3.5 out of 5. This was pretty tough for me to rate, as Zygarde Complete is a good offensive Pokemon since it has Dragon Dance and more importantly Coil. However, 100 base attack on top of 91 special attack really isn't all that amazing. Zygarde Complete's offensive potential is certainly there, but what makes this Pokemon so good is its defenses and its other categories. In terms of defense, I will give Zygarde Complete a 5 out of 5. Zygarde Complete has an insane 216 HP stat, a great defensive stat of 121, and a pretty good special defense stat of 95. Through my testing, Zygarde Complete was able to take a surprising amount of hits despite having a lower amount of HP since it has to transform when it has half HP or lower. The lack of reliable recovery is annoying, however in my opinion Zygarde Complete is one of the best rest talkers in the game since it is so bulky, and even if you get a rest off of one of your sleep talks, you'll be okay to take some hits. Pair this with Coil and you get a very fun defensive Pokemon to use. In terms of versatility, I will give Zygarde Complete a 4 out of 5. Although Zygarde Complete isn't the most versatile Pokemon out there, it does have better versatility than most Pokemon. In my opinion, it is best to run Rest Talk with Coil and 1000 arrows at all times with this Pokemon, but if you really want to, you could run a Dragon Dance set or even a special set. It also gets Dragon Tail, which is a great attack to throw on it as well, which you can also say about the move Glare. For Movepool, I will give Zygarde Complete a 5 out of 5. Zygarde Complete has a perfect Movepool for what this Pokemon is supposed to be. Coil and Glare help this Pokemon tremendously, on top of having access to 1000 arrows, which is easily one of the best offensive moves in the game. You have pretty good coverage on top of that, as well as access to Extreme Speed, which again is one of the best priority moves in the game. The only issue I see with Zygarde's moveset is it struggles a little bit to hit fairies, although it is a dragon type so it really isn't supposed to be able to handle fairies too effectively, and it doesn't have a move like Recover, but like we've been discussing throughout this whole video, not having Recover isn't that bad on this Pokemon since it is one of the best rest talkers in the game. And in terms of viability, I will give Zygarde Complete a 5 out of 5. Zygarde Complete, in my opinion, is such a fun and unique Pokemon that I recommend everybody at least try it out. Despite some of these ratings being a little bit on the lower side for Pokemon in this series, I do personally think that Zygarde Complete is one of the best Pokemon out there due to its amazing defenses and great move pool. The only Pokemon that I think that could match this Pokemon are Ultra Necrozma, which we covered a few months ago, and Mega Rayquaza, which we'll get to soon enough. I'm sure there's a few other Pokemon out there as well that you can argue are better than Zygarde Complete, but I think it's pretty safe to say it's a top 10 Pokemon. And that is Zygarde Complete. Let me know what you guys think of this Pokemon in the comment section down below for a chance to have your comment featured in the next best Pokemon video, like this comment right here. While making this video, I realized just how much I love Zygarde Complete, and it's slowly becoming one of my favorite Ubers Pokemon. Thank you guys so much for watching, have a great rest of your day, I will see you guys next time, and bye bye.